My sister stole my rich fiancé and laughed while my family watched. So I married the poor Gateman standing at our gate. But on her wedding day, everyone found out who my husband really was. The night Nora Daniels' life broke, the house was full of light, music, and people pretending to love her. It was supposed to be her engagement dinner, her future, her happiness. Instead, she walked into the family hall and saw her younger sister sitting beside her fiancé, one hand resting proudly on his arm like she had already taken Nora's place. And maybe she had. Because the moment Nora looked at Ethan Cole, she knew. He did not look guilty. He looked relieved. Then Nora saw the bracelet on Vanessa's wrist, the one Ethan had given her on her birthday. The room went quiet, but not one person stood up for Nora. Not her mother, not her father, not even the aunties who used to call her the good daughter, the responsible one, the one who deserved happiness. Vanessa smiled and said, "He chose me. Please don't embarrass yourself." And Ethan? He looked Nora in the eye and said, "Vanessa suited his world better." That was how they buried her, in front of everyone. But Nora did not cry the way they expected. She did not beg. She did not fight for a man who could sit there and watch her break. She turned around, walked past the laughter, and stopped at the front gate where the quiet gateman, Noah King, stood staring at her in shock. Her heart was shattered. Her pride was bleeding, but her voice still worked. So she looked at him and asked, "Will you marry me?" The laughter behind her grew louder, but Noah did not laugh. He only looked at her with calm, dangerous eyes and said, "Yes." Nora Daniels had spent most of her life being the daughter people depended on and forgot in the same breath. She was the steady one, the polite one, the one who stayed back to help her mother with guests, remembered her father's medication, and made excuses for the family when their love came with conditions. While Vanessa was praised for being beautiful, bold, and impossible to ignore, Nora was praised for being useful. Good. Easy. The kind of woman people admired only when she was sacrificing something. She had learned to live with that. Or at least, she thought she had. For 3 years, she believed Ethan Cole was the one thing in her life that was truly hers. He had chosen her, promised her a future, and placed a shining ring on her finger in front of both families. Nora had held on to that promise like it meant something. She built her dreams quietly, carefully, the same way she built everything else in her life, with patience, loyalty, and the hope that one day she would finally be chosen without conditions. But Vanessa had always looked at Nora's happiness like it was something she wanted to test with her own hands. What Nora once dismissed as harmless teasing now returned with a sharper meaning. The lingering glances, the hidden smirks, the way Vanessa always wanted what Nora loved, not because she valued it, but because taking it made her feel powerful. And when the truth finally came out at the engagement dinner, it did not feel sudden. It felt like the final wound in a pattern that had been there all along. The worst part was not Ethan's betrayal. It was the silence. The silence of parents who said nothing. The silence of relatives who looked away. The silence that told Nora this pain was acceptable as long as Vanessa got what she wanted. By the time Nora turned toward the gate, her heart was breaking. But something else had broken too. The part of her that kept accepting it. Noah's answer fell into the night so calmly that, for a second, Nora thought she had imagined it. But then the laughter behind her grew louder, sharper, crueler, and she knew everyone had heard him too. Vanessa laughed first. "This is insane." Ethan let out a dry, mocking breath. "Nora, stop this. You're embarrassing yourself." But Nora did not turn back. If she looked at them again, she might break. And she refused to give them that. Not her tears, not her begging, not the satisfaction of watching her crawl through the ruins they had made of her. So she stood there at the gate, her chest tight, her hands trembling, and looked at the quiet man in front of her. Noah King did not look confused anymore. He looked steady, almost as if he had already decided that if she took one step into the fire, he would step in with her. Her father's voice rose from behind, angry, disbelieving. Her mother called her name in horror. Relatives began whispering that the heartbreak had driven her mad. Vanessa kept laughing like this was the most pathetic thing Nora had ever done. Maybe it was reckless. Maybe it was foolish. But humiliation had already stripped Nora of everything soft. Pride was all she had left, and she would not leave it bleeding at Ethan's feet. "Come inside," her father snapped. "This nonsense ends now." Nora finally turned, her face pale but firm. "It ended the moment you all sat there and watched them do this to me." Silence followed that. Heavy, uncomfortable. Then Noah moved. Not dramatically. Not like a man trying to impress anyone. He simply stepped closer, just enough to place himself at Nora's side. It was a small thing, but it changed everything. The mockery did not stop, but it no longer reached her the same way. "We should leave," he said quietly. Something in his tone made her look at him again. He was still in his gateman's uniform, still the man everyone dismissed without thought. Yet there was nothing small about the way he carried himself. No fear, no shame, just calm. Nora did not understand him. She did not understand why he had said yes, or why his presence made the chaos feel less wild. But when he opened the gate for her, she walked through it. Behind them, her family watched as if she had ruined her life. Nora walked away believing the same thing. Yet beside her, Noah remained calm, respectful, and strangely protective. Like a man who knew this night was not the end of her story, only the beginning. The first morning after Nora married Noah King felt unreal. She woke up in a quiet guest room of a small house on the far edge of the estate, the kind of place most people in her family never noticed enough to think about. For a few seconds, she forgot everything. Then the memory came back all at once. Ethan, Vanessa, the laughter, the gate, Noah's calm voice saying yes. Shame burned through her chest. What had she done? But when she stepped outside, Noah was already there, setting a tray of tea and bread on the small table by the window as if this strange new life deserved gentleness, not regret. "You should eat," he said. Nora stared at him. No questions, no pressure, no demand for explanations. Just quiet care. That alone unsettled her. She had spent years with Ethan, and even at his best, his kindness had always felt tied to mood, convenience, or appearance. But Noah moved around her with a steady patience that asked for nothing in return. He noticed when she was cold before she said it. He left space when she needed silence. He spoke to her softly, but never with pity. Still, there were things about him that did not fit. He did not speak like a man who had spent his life standing at gates. His words were too measured, too educated. He carried himself with a calm confidence that felt natural, not borrowed. Even the way he wore simple clothes felt strange, as though he had chosen simplicity, not been trapped in it. And then there was the way people reacted to him. One afternoon, a black car pulled up near the outer road. Two men stepped out, both sharply dressed, both looking like men used to being listened to. The moment they saw Noah, their expressions changed. One of them straightened at once. The other lowered his voice. They greeted him with a respect Nora did not miss. Noah spoke to them briefly, then sent them away before she could hear much. When she asked who they were, he only said, "Old business." Old business. Nothing about that answer satisfied her. And yet, even with all the questions growing in her mind, Nora could not ignore the truth forming beside them. Noah was still a mystery, but he was also the first man who had ever protected her peace without first demanding her pain. Vanessa did not just steal Nora's future. She displayed it like a trophy. Within days, pictures of her new engagement to Ethan Cole were everywhere. Social media posts, family group chats, carefully staged photos with matching smiles, expensive flowers, and captions about destiny, second chances, and true love. Every image felt like a slap. Every comment praising them felt like salt rubbed into a wound that had not even begun to close. Nora tried to stay away from it. She really did. But cruelty had a way of finding her. Relatives who had ignored her pain now called to advise her to move on with grace. Old family friends looked at her with a mix of pity and judgment. Some whispered that Vanessa had always been better suited to Ethan's world. Others laughed more openly, saying Nora's answer to heartbreak had been to run off with a gateman as if pain had pushed her out of her right mind. Vanessa enjoyed every second of it. She came to the estate one afternoon dressed like Victory, her designer handbag swinging from her arm, her engagement ring catching the sunlight every time she moved her hand. Ethan was with her, polished and smug, like a man proud of the choice he had made. Nora had been standing outside with Noah when they arrived. Vanessa's eyes moved slowly over the small house, the simple chairs, the quiet life Nora had stepped into, and her smile deepened. "So this is where the grand love story is happening," she said lightly. "How humble." Ethan let out a low laugh. "I guess everyone ends up where they belong." The words stung, even though Nora had told herself they no longer mattered. Some wounds were still too fresh to ignore. Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was sharing something kind. "You should thank me, honestly. If I hadn't taken Ethan, you would never have found your perfect little Gateman." Nora felt the heat rise in her chest, but before she could speak, she sensed Noah beside her. Still quiet, still unreadable. He said nothing. That silence should have made him look weak. Instead, it made him seem controlled, like a man hearing much more than insults. His gaze rested on Ethan for a second too long, calm and steady, and something in Ethan's smug expression flickered. Just for a moment. Vanessa kept talking, still drunk on her victory, but Nora barely heard her. She was watching Noah now, the set of his jaw, the stillness in him, the strange feeling that he was not enduring this because he had no power. He was enduring it because he was waiting. And for the first time, Nora began to wonder if the cruel parade her sister enjoyed so much was leading somewhere she could not yet see. A week after Vanessa's cruel visit, the shine around her victory began to dull. At first, it showed in small ways. Ethan stopped posting as often. Vanessa's bright, mocking updates became less frequent. Then the whispers started moving through the family like smoke. A contract Ethan had been counting on suddenly collapsed. A dinner with investors was canceled without explanation. One of his father's longtime business partners refused to return his calls. Nobody said much openly, but Nora could feel the tension building. Even her mother's voice on the phone sounded strained when she called, pretending to ask how Nora was doing before quickly shifting to questions about whether Noah had said anything unusual. The question sat strangely in Nora's mind long after the call ended. Why would Noah know anything? That same evening, she saw something she could not explain. A dark car stopped outside the small house just after sunset. Noah stepped out to meet the men inside before they even knocked, as if he had been expecting them. Nora stayed near the window, hidden by the curtain. She could not hear every word, but she caught enough to make her pulse quicken. "It's already moving," one man said in a low voice. "The coal deal is weakening faster than expected," said the other. Noah stood with one hand in his pocket, calm and still. "Then let it weaken," he replied. "No one steps in yet." The men nodded. Nodded. Not like men speaking to a gateman, like men receiving instructions. Nora's breath caught. When Noah came back inside, he found her standing by the table, arms folded, trying to hold herself together. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. He paused, then took off his watch and set it down with care. "Someone who knows more about Ethan Cole than he realizes." That answer only deepened the mystery. The next few days brought more strange signs. Powerful men greeted Noah with quiet respect. Calls came late at night. Once, when a rude relative visited to mock Nora again, Noah said only a few calm words. And the man left, looking shaken. For the first time, Nora looked at her husband and felt something stronger than curiosity. The world had dismissed Noah King because of a uniform and a gate. But the man beside her did not feel small. He felt hidden. That night, the silence between Nora and Noah felt different. Not heavy. Not awkward. just quiet in a way that made room for truth. Rain tapped softly against the windows as Nora sat across from him, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea he had made without asking how she liked it, yet somehow getting it right. She had spent so many days trying to understand the mystery around him that she had almost forgotten the simpler question. "Why did you say yes?" she asked. Noah looked at her for a long moment as if deciding how much to give away. Then he said, "Because I had already noticed you long before that night." Nora frowned slightly. "Noticed me?" He nodded. "You were the only person in that house who looked people like us in the eye. The only one who said good morning to the driver, thanked the cook, asked the cleaners if they had eaten. You treated invisible people like they mattered." Nora did not speak. No one had ever described her kindness like it was something powerful. Most people saw it as softness, something ordinary, something expected. Noah's voice stayed calm. "You were never weak, Nora. Just surrounded by people who benefited from you not knowing your worth." The words settled deep inside her, touching a place that had been bruised for years. For the first time since the engagement dinner, she felt something inside her loosen. Not all the pain, not all the shame, but enough to breathe differently. She looked down, blinking back sudden tears. "You make it sound like you were watching me." A faint smile touched his mouth. "Maybe I was." That should have felt strange. Instead, it felt warm. In the days that followed, Nora found herself healing in quiet pieces. She laughed once at something Noah said and startled herself with the sound. She slept better. She stopped checking Vanessa's updates. She began to believe that maybe her life had not ended at that gate. Maybe it had only changed direction. Then one afternoon, while Noah stepped out to take a call, Nora noticed a file left slightly open on the small desk near the window. She had not meant to pry, but Ethan's name caught her eye. Her breath stalled. She moved closer and saw more than just Ethan Cole's name. There were company documents, dates, and one letterhead she recognized immediately, the same business group connected to Ethan's family. Nora stared at the papers, her heart beating faster. By the time Noah returned, she was still standing there, the truth pressing cold against her skin. Whatever Noah was hiding, it was no longer just about him. It was tied to Ethan, too. Noah stopped in the doorway the moment he saw the open file in Nora's hands. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The room felt smaller. The rain outside sounded louder. Nora's fingers tightened around the papers as she looked from Ethan's name to Noah's face, searching for the truth he had kept hidden behind silence, calm eyes, and a Gateman's uniform. "You need to tell me who you are," she said. Noah closed the door gently behind him. Even then, he did not look panicked. He looked like a man who had always known this moment would come. "My full name is Noah King," he said quietly. "And yes, I was standing at that gate for a reason." Nora's pulse hammered in her ears. He stepped closer, not to take the file from her, but to face her fully. "My father built King Holdings. After his death, people I trusted tried to bury parts of the company, move money through false deals, and hide corruption behind respectable names. Ethan Cole's family became tied to some of those deals." Nora stared at him. King Holdings was not a small name. It was the kind of empire people spoke of with respect and fear. "You're saying—" Her voice almost failed her. "You're the heir?" Noah held her gaze. "Yes." The word landed like thunder. Suddenly, so many things made sense. The way powerful men spoke to him, the calls, the quiet authority, the calm that never matched the life he seemed to live. He had not been pretending to be important. He had been hiding it. "I took the Gateman job to watch people who acted differently when they thought no one important was looking," he continued. "That house, Ethan, your family's connections, all of it mattered." Nora's chest tightened. Her reckless marriage had not pulled her into a strange little escape from heartbreak. It had dropped her straight into a war much bigger than she understood. Before she could speak again, Noah's phone rang. He answered, listened for a second, then his face hardened in a way she had never seen before. Who else knows? He asked coldly. Whatever answer came made his jaw tighten. By morning, the news had already spread. Vanessa arrived pale. Ethan looked shaken for the first time in his life. Even Nora's parents could barely hide their fear. The same people who had laughed at the poor Gateman now stood in stiff silence before the hidden heir of a powerful empire. And Nora, still trying to catch up with the truth, realized something else. The man beside her was no longer someone they could mock. He was someone they were terrified of. Vanessa's wedding day arrived dressed in gold, pride, and the kind of luxury built to impress people who only respected appearances. The hall glittered with chandeliers, polished marble, and rows of powerful guests. Vanessa moved through it all like a queen, finally claiming the life she believed she deserved. Her dress shimmered. Her smile was sharp, and beside her, Ethan stood stiff in his tailored suit, and trying to look confident even though the rumors around his family's business had already begun to spread. Nora entered quietly. Heads turned at once. Not because of her dress, though it was elegant. Not because of the whispers, though they followed her like smoke. But because of the man walking beside her. Noah was no longer wearing a gateman's uniform. He wore a dark suit cut with quiet perfection, his expression calm, his presence impossible to ignore. People who had once looked past him now stepped aside without thinking. Some recognized him immediately. Others only understood when the room's mood shifted around him like a current. Vanessa's smile faltered first. Then Ethan's face changed. One of the older businessmen near the front straightened at once and greeted Noah with visible respect. Another lowered his head slightly. The silence that followed spread fast, sharp enough to cut through the music. Noah did not raise his voice when he spoke, yet the whole room seemed to hear him. "This wedding should not continue," he said. Gasps rippled through the hall. Ethan moved forward. "You have no right." "I have every right," Noah said, his voice still calm. "Especially when your family used fraud, hidden accounts, and stolen deals to build the life you're standing here pretending is clean." Vanessa went pale. "That's a lie." But it was already collapsing. Documents were handed to officials waiting near the entrance. Quiet men in dark suits stepped forward. Guests began whispering. Ethan's father looked like a man whose breath had been stolen. One truth led to another. Missing funds, corrupt contracts, secret payments, and beneath it all, Ethan's greed. The same greed that made him throw Nora away the moment he saw a path he thought was easier. Vanessa's perfect smile finally broke. In the middle of the same kind of crowd that once watched Nora's humiliation, the story turned. This time, it was not Nora standing abandoned under cruel eyes. It was Vanessa. It was Ethan. It was everyone who had laughed when she chose the poor man at the gate. Nora stood still through it all, her heart pounding, her pain rising and falling like something finally released. She had walked into this world once as the woman they thought they could destroy. Now she stood beside the man they feared most. And for the first time, the shame no longer belonged to her. The days after the wedding felt strangely quiet, like the world had finally run out of lies. Vanessa disappeared from public view almost overnight. Ethan's name, once spoken with admiration, now moved through whispered conversations filled with scandal and pity. The same relatives who had watched Nora's humiliation in silence suddenly found their voices again, calling to apologize, to explain, to pretend they had never truly been against her. But Nora no longer needed their version of love. For the first time in her life, she stopped measuring her worth by who chose her, who praised her, or who stayed. She had survived the kind of betrayal that could have destroyed a softer part of her. She had been humiliated, replaced, mocked, and pushed aside. Yet somehow she was still standing. Not bitter, not broken. Just awake in a way she had never been before. That was her real victory. Not the money, not the power. Not even the shock on people's faces when they learned who Noah really was. It was the simple, quiet truth that they had tried to strip her of her dignity, and failed. One evening, as the sun faded across the garden behind Noah's home, Nora stood near the stone path with the breeze moving softly through her hair. Noah joined her without a word, as if silence between them had become its own kind of language. After a while, she looked at him and smiled faintly. "Do you know what hurts the most?" He turned to her. "I really thought losing Ethan meant losing my future." She let out a soft breath. "Now I see I was only losing what was never truly mine." Noah's eyes stayed on her, steady and warm. "You were never losing your value, Nora. Only the people too blind to see it." Her throat tightened, but this time the tears that filled her eyes did not come from pain. They came from peace. Because she understood now. Noah had not saved her by being secretly rich. He had changed her life because, long before the world was forced to see her worth, he had already seen it. At the gate, in the silence. In the version of her that was kind even when nobody rewarded kindness. Nora had not won because she ended up beside the most powerful man in the room. She had won because she had finally become a woman no one could reduce, replace, or break. And this time, when she looked at her future, it no longer felt like something fragile in someone else's hands. It felt like hers. What do you think was the biggest betrayal in this story? Vanessa stealing Ethan? Ethan humiliating Nora? Or the family staying silent? Drop your answer in the comments. Like this video and subscribe for more emotional stories.